If you cannot function again without power, you're putting yourself at risk. Communities get power outages. They don't happen too often, but outside of the United States, they happen quite often. And that's why people in other countries are a lot more prepared than people here in the United States. Generators don't sell a whole lot for backup power generation. They're mostly used for remote applications or other applications. Most people don't even have flashlights ready. Candles are out of the question. Non-perishable foods are a rarity when it comes to preparedness for power outages. People being able to live without an air conditioner on all the time, out of the question. People cannot be indoors without having an AC on. You try to open someone's window just to get some fresh air in the house, you probably get reprimanded or told off. If you could even open that window it's got so much dust caked in its tracks that you cannot even slide it open. As you take a stroll or a walk or a drive down a average neighborhood, you see for the most part 0 windows opened, even in the most pleasant of days. It could be 72 degrees, 10% humidity out there, and everybody's got their AC cranked to the coolest setting inside. It's an outrageous practice, energy wasteful, but it's just something, like I said before, put out there by guess who? The traditional power and energy industry. Water heaters have no on and off switch, have no timers as they should. I mean, they got water heaters now with digital readouts, and nowhere in there will you find a timer to shut that thing off and on, especially during downtime where no one's at home and you obviously do not need it to come on even to keep the water warm. I shut my water heater off at home during the day, first thing in the morning. That thing will keep that water warm all the way to later in the evening, to wash dishes, to wash your hands. And later in the evening, everyone is ready to take a shower. I flip the switch back on. The water heater comes on, heats the water up some more, and it's ready to provide everyone with warm showers. And guess what? I flip that switch off as soon as I go to bed. No one's going to tell me that keeping that water heater on with that heating element of about 6,000 to 8,000 watts is going to save me power in the long run. I know some about electronics and electricity to know that that's not true. That's a myth put out there by the same authorities and the same entities that sell you that power for a profit. So not for a second buy it. Do not buy it. Attempt to save energy as much as possible, whenever possible. It is dangerous to depend on power, not because it makes you not be able to function without it, live life without it, as most people are today, but also it bonds you, makes you a slave, makes you a good little supporter of the industry. Naturally, that's what they want. They basically want you to be very encouraged to keep paying that bill. No question about it. I mean, they're looking out for themselves. That's money in their pocket whenever you do pay that bill. So why not do anything in their power to keep you paying that bill? One way to do it, give you no other options. Or at least give you the sense that there is no other viable option. They basically put all the other options as highly inconvenient. I generally get a magazine at home. We just automatically subscribe to it from our local power company, which they call it an electric cooperative. They subscribe you to this magazine called GEMC Georgia Magazine, which is basically a mouthpiece for the power company. And they shoot down and downplay and belittle and continuously they attack alternative forms of energy. Why? Just like I said, looking out for their own, looking out for themselves. They attack solar, specifically photovoltaics, wind, geothermal. Power companies even have these little stores set up throughout town where they basically take in gas equipment, refrigerators, water heaters, stoves, and for a discounted price they give you this nice new and shiny electric modern appliance. Take in your old gas appliance, rusty, ugly gas appliance, and they'll give you this new, futuristic looking or modern looking electric appliance. Why is that? Why go through the heartache of trying to dispose of this old equipment, trying to sell you another piece of equipment that's brand new, supposedly discounted? Why go through that heartache, especially when you have a Lowe's, Sears, Walmart nearby that sells, or Home Depot that sells the same items. And they even probably offer you credit and easy payments on them, and probably a better brand, better quality. These little stores cannot ever compete with big chains. I mean, they would be out of business in a heartbeat were not for that they're supported by the power company. They're propped, being kept in business by the power company. And their goal is clearly to keep up the establishment of taking out other alternative forms of energy as LP, liquid propane, natural gas, taking those out of the picture, out of the situation. They don't want those as factor. They want everyone to have electric appliances. They know that electric appliances are the biggest power consumers in the home. Stoves, water heaters, AC units, dishwashers. And they will do everything in their power, everything possible, to make sure most people have electric appliances in their home. So they can keep using their power, they can keep growing. They do not make enough money to maintain that store viably operating. It's just not possible. I do not buy it for a second. So these stores are there for a purpose, and it's to spread the use of electric appliances. Thus, support your local friendly and customer service oriented power company. That is very monopolistic, very dictatorial, and it's basically making you their slaves. By taking away all of your other alternatives, you're becoming the power company's slave. If you cannot even cook your food, warm boil water in your stove because it's electric and it depends on the power grid to operate, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. If during a power outage, and this is without even going into what it would be like if a long-term upheaval or crisis were to happen. This is not even going into that. If a crisis were to happen, multiply what I'm telling you about this inconvenience and safety issues with being without power, multiply that by about 100, and you'll see where I would be going with that. Just to keep it in the regular one-day power outage, if you cannot keep your food cool, if you cannot warm your food or cook it, if you cannot boil water to be able to make it potable or to drink it, you're looking for life-threatening situations. If you have to plug in your fan to the wall or nothing else, you're exposing yourself to some dire situations, especially during the summer months. Again, if you have any kind of work to accomplish, either through telecommunications, cell phone, computer equipment, a fax machine, copiers. A lot of people do a lot of work at home nowadays with the ever-evolving economy. You're putting yourself at risk by just exposing yourself to just being dependent on the grid power. Again, there are many alternatives. I will show you what those are, tell you about it. I'm not trying to sell a product here. I will evenly, and even though I'm in the solar business, I will not just only show you what I have for you. I will show you many technologies that are available for you for free without even considering me. And also we'll introduce other or share other technologies, including wind, water, small-scale geothermal, not your usual volcanic area geothermal as they have out there now, and other power-saving and survival habits to make sure you are able to live, you are able to operate normally, even without power. Power is not a requirement for you to live, so don't allow it to be. You can grow very comfortable and very dependent on power and allow your guard to come down and eventually get hit. Do not grow complacent with your electric power. Do not grow so dependent on it that you may be putting yourself in danger were it to go away, which is a very real possibility. Very quickly to go over the conflict issues with the power generation industry as it is right now. Like I mentioned before, most conflicts, if not all of them I would say, have been triggered in major part at the very least over energy resources. And this is especially true since the Industrial Revolution in the late 1800s. Oil reserves are the modern day's gold. That's why they call it black gold. Every country wants it. Every president wants to tap into it to have enough reserves for the future. And this is understandably, but the practices used to secure it are just appalling. Countries and militaries, governments kill, pillage, invade, and abuse, enslave for this resource. Most recently, the invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan were triggered by interests in oil deposits in those regions. Afghanistan is known to have one of the world's largest natural gas deposits, as it is very close to Russia, which is in the Urals, which is an area that is very wealthy when it comes to natural energy deposits, perhaps oil, but mostly known as natural gas, to my recollection. Iraq is known to have one of the world's largest reserves itself. This is of crude oil, and it's no surprise that without any credible pretext, we as a nation invaded Iraq. Not to get into the political side of the invasion, Iraq's oil facilities were among the first areas of the country to be secured by the military. While Baghdad was in ruins and looters were out in the street, even the National Museum being looted and pillaged, while that was going on in the streets of Baghdad, the oil fields were very highly secured. Like I said, the first things to be secured. One can only wonder why. Conflict for oil is highly common. China is in constant conflict with Japan, even though not armed, but political struggle, territorial disputes are common with Japan and other nations. I want to bring up a list to share. The conflict and war has traditionally been fueled by oil and energy deposits, energy resources. This goes back even to World War I, where Germany and many of the nations that fought each other in certain areas because of the energy resources that that area held. Make sure they secured those areas and used them for themselves. North Africa was occupied during World War II, in large part because of the wealthy deposits of energy resources in that area. The Arabian Peninsula was taken over, invaded many times by several nations, lastly the Arabs. And even though oil was not discovered until after the Arabs have already settled a very coveted area, after the discovery of the largest oil reserves on Earth. It is a highly volatile region of the planet, the Middle East. Israel, Jordan, Syria. Syria has been at war. It's had a civil war highly fueled by its resources. There was just a report put out that about 250,000 people have died in that conflict alone. 250,000. Saudi Arabia invaded Yemen. Why? In large part to protect their territory, which is a jewel when it comes to energy resource. To protect their stability, as they call it. Why? To keep that machine working, that well-oiled machine literally turning. They want to make sure that there's no interruption in the pumping of oil, thus in their steady income. The Israeli-Arab wars of the late 70s, early 80s was largely fueled by possession of oil-rich lands like the Sinai region. Many of the wars throughout the world, including those of the First World War and the Second World War, were fought over oil resources for the most part. Because ever since the invention of the combustion engine, the airplane, the car, or even the train, oil, coal, and other energy resources have been very coveted and very sought after at any cost, even at the cost of war and annihilation of whole communities and even countries. We'll have to leave it at that, or we'll pick this up at another show. Appreciate you listening. Hope to attract your attention again at a later time, and have a great rest of your day or evening. Thank you.